ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगना जगन्नाथं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगना ललिता श्रीकृष्णाय राम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिने नाम नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशकारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरकृष्ण हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि नीलाचल निवासाय मुखाय परमात्मने वरभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते कृपासिन्धु पतितानां वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे यत्कृपा श्रीगुरुदेवाय Remember, like this is not audible, na?
It is audible, bro.
Able to hear like this?
आपको रुकने से नहीं देगा।
I am not able. I will. So, today we'll start chapter 10. I wanted to show one this thing. Let us see how it goes. You did not send the link to me, eh? Huh?
भक्ति शास्त्री ऑनलाइन मिले।
कहाँ आता है? ये। Just 1 minute. We are actually opening the PPT here. What is this audio conference? Can I use share screen?
दादाजी पीटी को मिले। मुझे क्लिक कर गए।
हाँ। Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Something else comes up?
Yeah.
This? This should come there.
शेयर कर दो।
Oh, excuse.
Bro, your screen is coming here, bro.
Huh?
Your screen is coming here.
Which screen you're seeing?
Slides.
Slide you're seeing.
Ah,
Indicatory you're not seeing, right?
no.
Okay. Okay, fine. And now you're seeing the slide.
Yes.
You're seeing the next slide?
Yes, bro.
Okay, so let us start. Okay. So today we are starting chapter 10. The opulence of the action.
Okay.
Chapter 10, the Lord. The Lord is speaking about himself actually.
Hmm.
So now the point is that when one understands the the greatness of the Lord, then that helps one take the shelter of the Lord. And now in a simple way, if one understands the sweetness of the Lord, then one develops a more intimate relationship with the Lord. So now these two aspects are there. The knowledge or the greatness aspect of the Lord and the knowledge greatness and sweetness. Greatness and sweetness actually. When one gets to know both, then one can develop a very intimate relationship with the Lord. So this is what is going to happen now in chapter 10. Because chapter 9 discusses about the aspect of sweetness of the Lord. And how the Lord is so sweet and merciful. He's always ready to give his mercy. Oh, this is where it was echoing. Okay. Oh, it is coming like that. Okay, so is it audible?
Yes, bro. But it has reduced, bro.
It has reduced.
Ah.
वो क्या उसमें जा रहा था? Huh? इन दोनों क्या उसमें जा रहा था? Oh, actually, what was happening was that the sound of both the laptops was going inside. Actually.
Okay,
Bro.
bro.
The sound was more, but I hope it's audible now.
Yes.
So chapter 9, the Lord is describing or revealing about His sweetness, and that gives a very intimate flavor with the Lord. And now, to add icing on the cake, actually, the Lord in chapter 10 is going to describe His greatness.
Okay.
So then the relationship becomes not only intimate, but one wants to commit actually. It's just like one makes friendship with say a fellow student or a fellow professional, like that. And then later he comes to know that now the person who is his dear friend, he is the son of the president, the prime minister. That or he is the son of some very big industry. So that gives an added riveted intimacy with it. So that's what is happening in chapter 10. So obviously, the greatness of the Lord can attract the attention, but it is actually the sweetness of the Lord which binds the living entity or which overwhelms the living entity. So combination of both is a very powerful combination. Now chapter 10 actually begins. Now we will see one very interesting feature in chapter 9 and chapter 10. And the interesting feature is that in general the chapters how they start, In general, Arjuna asks some question, and based on that the chapter starts. So Arjuna asks a question, and based on that actually the chapter starts actually. So now in chapter 9 and 10 the interesting feature is that Arjuna is not asking any question. There is no question actually. If you see, there is no question by Arjuna. But the Lord is speaking and speaking and speaking. So in this way we can see that actually the Lord is in ecstasy of love for his devotee. And therefore he doesn't need to be triggered by Arjuna by his asking questions actually. Because the Lord is in ecstasy, the Lord is actually uh, the Lord is on his own, speaking and speaking and sharing and revealing actually for the benefit of Arjuna and for the benefit of all of us actually. So therefore now in this chapter 10 actually we are going to explore in the opulences of the Vibhuti Yoga or the opulences of the Absolute. Uh, Chapter 10 we are going to explore, the Lord is going to explain the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita which will come up shortly, and then the Lord is going to explain about a glimpse of his opulences. So let's go forward. So here the Lord is going to reveal actually his greatness, and we see pure devotional service, Chatushloki Gita, Vibhuti Yoga. So if you do a review of chapter 9, we see in chapter 9 verses, in this fashion actually, uh, we progress to the verses. First, the Lord is talking about Tashunu, the importance and the glories of hearing, and the effects and the positive effects and the negative effects. If one hears attentively, what happens to him. In text 4 to 10, we saw actually how the Lord is a controller of the material world and how the Lord is related with the material world. He is one, but he is aloof. Uh, then 11 to 15, the Lord talks about various kinds of worshippers, non-worshippers, like that. You remember the verses Mogha, Shah, Mogha, Karma, all those verses. 1625, again it is explained how Krishna is the supreme object of worship. The comparison is given from various other processes, the demigod worshippers, the Mayavadis, and then 29 onwards, the glory is of directly worshipping Krishna. So 926 goes to Patram Pushpam Param Toyam, the Lord is establishing that how it's very easy to approach. And then 29 onwards, the Lord is explaining about the glories of Kevala Bhakti. So, so here the Lord was explaining his sweetness aspect actually, that how he is ready to offer his mercy to everyone. And therefore the Lord sees any small endeavor which is to please the Lord is accepting it. Now let's go to chapter 10. Oh, sorry. So this is the overview of chapter 10. This is the overview of chapter 10 actually. 4 sections basically in chapter 10. So 1 to 7 are talking about one who has understood Krishna's unfathomable nature, engages in his devotional service. And 8 to 11 is the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. Then 12 to 18, Arjuna's acceptance and request to hear more of Krishna's opulences. And then 19 to 42, Krishna is talking about his opulences. The Lord is talking about his opulences. 19 to 42. So this is how this section, this is how the Bhagavad Gita flows. This is how the Bhagavad Gita flows actually. So we see that the Supreme Lord in text 1 to 7, the Lord is describing about his supreme opulence, his own supreme opulence. And the Lord is describing how he is the source of all, and no one naturally knows him actually. But But understand, but therefore the Lord is revealing, and therefore one who gets to know, one who gets to understand, only he can engage in devotional service. So we are dependent on revelations of the Lord for devotional service. Krishna is explaining about. So let us go to text 1 and we will read text 1, 10:1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya eva Mahabaho Shunu me paramam vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Vakshyami Hitakam Yaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend, because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I speak to you that knowledge, I speak to you the knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parashar Muni, one who is full in six opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, is called Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of God. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all six opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashar Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God. Now Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning in the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotion and service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. So, as Prabhupada is explaining in chapter 7, the Lord explains his various energies and how these energies are related to the Lord. There also the Lord is talking about hearing attentively. Chapter 9 also, when chapter 9 begins, the Lord is talking about hearing. There also the Lord is telling that hear with great care. And now again the Lord is telling, listen again. So now the knowledge, the revelation is better than what was already explained. Because now, as compared to chapter 7, the Lord was in chapter 7 was discussing about his energies. And now in chapter 10, the Lord is discussing about his direct opulences. So therefore it is better knowledge. And that's why it is called as better knowledge. And the Lord is saying, Paramam Vachaha here. So chapter 9, if you see, the Lord was saying what? That this is called as The Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. That is the Lord. That is how the Lord is explaining the knowledge in chapter 9. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. This is the king of all knowledge actually. This is the king of all secrets. Actually. So that's what the Lord explained. Now the Lord is using the words Paramam Vachana. That means these are the supreme words. So now, so when the Lord is explaining, in this way the Lord is established in the chapter 9, the king of all knowledge, the best of all knowledge. And now, the Lord is saying, the supreme. So now in one sense we can say, yes, the king means very important, but there can be many kings actually. But here the Lord is not giving a scope like that. The Lord is saying these are the supreme words, nothing beyond this. There's nothing equal to this also. These are the supreme, the Paramam Vachana. That's what the Lord explains here actually. And Prabhupada's beautiful, Prabhupada is explaining, yes, the more one hears about the Supreme Lord, the more one becomes fixed in devotion and service. And this hearing should not be in solitude, but this hearing should be in the association of it. That will enhance one's devotion and service. So, in this way, we can see that uh, how the Lord is establishing, you know, the process of hearing as a prime most supreme process, which is food intake for the soul. The Lord establishes that. And now, very interesting feature the Lord is establishing here. The Lord says, discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. So very beautiful actually. What it means is basically that the Lord now, to the degree the devotee is intensely wanting to advance in Krishna consciousness, to that degree the Lord reveals. That is the point actually here. And when it is said that the Lord is saying that those, the Prabhupada is saying that those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness, so then only the discourses in the society of devotees can take place. So now this is a very amazing revelation Srila Prabhupada is describing. But actually, that it's not just enough to be having an interest in spiritual life. It's not just enough to be, having a slight liking in spiritual life. But actually, so that may be good as a starting point. Okay, the spiritual life appears interesting. The spiritual life appears, we really have some liking for it. We like it. Or our, according to our tradition, we are obligated. The tradition is giving us an obligation, therefore we are attending, we are a part of it. So it's not, so in that case, the revelation is not going to be much more actually. The revelation is going to be more when one develops, uh, you know, uh, anxiety to be in Krishna consciousness. What is anxiety? We can understand by, um, so people are in anxiety about job. Job is a big anxiety. We see that devotees, uh, placement, money, salary. It's a big anxiety it creates actually. It's a huge and big. So that's called as anxiety. One is just not able to think of anything else other than this. That's called as anxiety. So one is just not able to think anything else. That's the meaning of anxiety actually. Similarly, I see that devotees are in anxiety. Say our NS devotees, an anxiety to get married. Actually, that, okay, good match, proper marriage is there, spiritual, Krishna conscious, like that. You know, sometimes GS devotees, they are in anxiety to get more money from parents. That is called as anxiety. It's very intense. Uh, one is not able to take off a thought actually. In a similar manner, actually, the qualifying prerequisite the Lord is talking about, the qualification is the Lord is talking about, is that there needs to be anxiety to be in Krishna consciousness. Then only Krishna consciousness moves forward, actually. We're in anxiety. And yes, service of the Lord has to take place. I need to get up tomorrow morning. There's anxiety. So when this anxiety is there, things happen on track. The revelation is going to be intense. I need to chant my rounds. When will I finish my rounds? Like that. And anxiety to read proper books. So only when we come in anxiety, we will see the wheels of our Krishna consciousness actually move forward. That's what we can see. Just like, for example, say if you start filling a sadhana card, if you fill a sadhana card regularly, we can see that just by filling sadhana card, we are able to glance over the previous day's sadhana, like that. And then as the week progresses, one is glancing, one is realizing that nothing is done. There's 0 marks coming, like that. And just by seeing that, it triggers some sort of anxiety. Is it not? Oh, we should not land up in a duck. There should be some innings. Is it not? And some respectable innings, like that. Not that, there is zero reading hearing, the rounds are finishing at 11 midnight, So, so that anxiety, then actually we pick up and improve, that way. I see my own life, the week starts actually not much reading hearing, but as it progresses, then the anxiety increases. Oh, only 3 days to go to finish the quota, like that. So we will see, we can see actually in this way that the unless this anxiety is there, the wheels do not move forward. If you analyze our preaching also, like that. So you see in our preaching also you see that uh, intensity comes actually only when there is anxiety. Just like so that's why from the beginning we have camps. So when there are camps, everybody's statistics are seen. Okay, this group 10 boys, this group 5 boys, only 2 boys, this group, and zero here. What happened? No follow-up is happening, this, that. So everybody's in anxiety. Oh, my group, at least somebody should turn up. Kidhar hai? Where are people? And how to somehow the other. So that anxiety, is it not? And that anxiety is very good. Because when we cultivate this kind of anxiety, actually, then the wheels of Krishna consciousness move forward. Otherwise, the wheels do not move forward, actually. So we need to be in anxiety, actually. That yes, I need to complete this. I need to move forward, actually. I need to read. Uh, for example, if you have anxiety, yes, I need to read. Bhagavad finish, complete. I need to go to like for students, it's like the level one, level two, level three books. After level three Bhagavad Gita, then I need to start Bhagavatam. Then anxiety takes one forward. Then one says, okay, I need to read Bhagavatam, then CC, and one round is over. Then one feels that okay, it's just one round. Let me finish at least 100 rounds, in this life. And once one reaches 100, then one can make it 200, like that. I don't know more than that is possible or not. So this anxiety is what takes one forward, That yes, okay, now I'm doing Bhakti Sastri, let me complete the assignment, let me move forward, like that. Let me get a deeper understanding, and then after Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Siddhanta, Sarvabhauma. And so in this way, one becomes, one can move forward actually. The anxiety has to be there. The intensity has to be there. So the process is very personal. The Krishna is very personal actually. To the degree there is intensity, to that degree the revelation comes, and to that degree we find opportunities actually. So there needs to be anxiety actually. If anxiety is there, everything works out actually, and otherwise it will not work out. We need to have anxiety, yes. There should be association around. We should have some service around, like that. And if we have anxiety, then things will work out actually. If you don't have anxiety, then we take it casually, then things don't turn out actually. Is it not? The same thing is true for service actually. Now, if you say, okay, it's okay if I have some service or not, it's okay if something comes, I'll do. That's not a high priority importance, then it will not come actually. But we have anxiety, yes, I need to distribute books. I need to preach actually. Where are the preaching opportunities? I need to do some service, some Vaishnav Seva, some service. So only when this kind of anxiety is there, we will make our life in such a way, and Krishna will also arrange situations in such a way that our life gets tuned and more revelations come forth. That's what Prabhupada is explaining. The discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. It requires. One may say, oh, what is the big thing in a discourse? There is a big thing actually. The big thing is just like yatra, you know. How much intensity is required to arrange a yatra? And even for every devotee to go and participate, he has to take out 10 days leave. He has to, so many days back, the registration is opens up, and so there is a whole lot of anxiety one has to go through actually. And unless one goes through, then that association cannot take place. Like that. And sometimes schedules are packed up, this, that, like we had our so this yatra we had our comprehensive exam, a very intense exam actually, just after yatra, like. So the 1.5 2 months before only, there was this the push that yes, you need to study actually, otherwise what will you do in yatra? Is it not? Krishna's mercy to attend the whole yatra, like that, so this anxiety is very good actually. Unless we take this anxiety, the service doesn't go forward and our Krishna consciousness doesn't go forward. So that's why the Lord explains here that Arjuna is very dear to him. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Let's go to text 2 now. Name viduhu suyaganaha prabhavam na mahashrayah maharshayah ahamadirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashanam. Neither the host of the demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences. For in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and the sages. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally, that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why the Supreme Lord comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and the great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is clearly stated that uh, even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of God. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism, of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature. Or they can imagine something by mental speculation, but it is not possible to understand Krishna by foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, the Lord is saying, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of God as some ruling power or as the impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord, but the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such spectators. Yet, despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these spectators, due to contamination of the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Lord that He is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord, and out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand Him. So even great sages agree, what is Atma, what is Supreme? It is He whom we have to worship. So Prabhupada is explaining that we see that this that by one's own attempts, actually speculative, manipulative attempts, actually, one can only reach to the conception of God as a ruling power or impersonal Brahman. Beyond that is not possible, actually. Therefore, if we see the world statistics, we can see the world religions also. Most of the religions actually do not cross over the understanding of the Lord as some ruling power or some impersonal Brahman, actually. We can see this actually. So now the point is what? The point which is explained here is this, that uh, let us take examples to understand. So they only see Lord as some extraordinary power. They don't see him as the sweet person, with such an oceanic sweetness of heart. They see as some power, just like say Moses. Moses, how did he saw God? He was meditating. And then Moses, how did he saw God? He saw fire in a bush, and this fire was never turning off. And it was on and on and on and on and on. And then Moses understood it's God. So what is he basically seeing? Is power. And his understand a realization of God as power, not God as a person, not God as a person offering oceanic reciprocation of love. So it doesn't go beyond that, actually. Similarly, we will see in texts like uh, so in texts like in other in texts in Bible also we can see this actually, that what is being said is that okay, the Lord will, the Lord hand, Lord judgment, the Lord stick. The Lord is the ruling power. He says the day of judgment will come, the Lord will judge, like that. Like yesterday only, I was just stepping in the our apartment here, like that, and there was this poster, and that poster, the backside, it says Jesus is the only Savior, and the back of the poster it was written that, Jesus, He is the Savior today, tomorrow He'll be the judge, you know. So they cannot understand beyond that, He says, okay, he's a savior today. Okay, he's a savior today. Then then they don't say that okay, because he's a savior today, let us offer some service to him, let us offer some bhoga to him, and let us chant his names, like let's glorify him, let's He says, okay, he's a savior today, take as much benefit. Why? Because tomorrow he'll be the judge, he'll take the stake, he'll beat you up, like that. Then it's okay, follow Jesus. So this was their promotional, promotional card. Somebody had dropped on our door actually. I was just looking at it. So they cannot go beyond this conception actually. Beyond this conception, we can only go by the revelation of the Lord. And you see how Prabhupada is explaining just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. We can develop this knowledge, we can develop this understanding of the Lord, the Supreme Lord, as in His full revelation. So Krishna consciousness is so amazing. In this sense, Prabhupada said simply by studying his words in Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, it is very important for a sadhaka to surround his thoughts and life in the words of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So So by regularly reading, studying, actually sharing, not sharing means teaching, uh, his words go deeper into our existence. And it is only through these words can the Lord reveal, and that also to the intensity of our, to the degree we have anxiety, to that degree we will see the revelation of the Lord happen. So therefore, we say that therefore Prabhupada makes the point that only the devotees who are fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that He is Krishna. So let's go to the slideshow once again, uh, and let's go to the slideshow. Let's share the screen. Where is my moving forward? One who has understood Krishna. So Prabhupada explains who is Bhagavan, that is Shadaishwarya Purna, the nourisher, the maintainer, the establisher of the devotee. And so Bhaga, this is an interesting one. So Bha means Bharta, Ga means Gamayita, he who creates all the qualities in his devotee. So the Lord gives actually. The Lord is a Bharta. The Lord gives. Ga means the Lord gives. The Lord grants pure prema to his devotee. He who gives Vaikuntha to his devotee is Gamaniyata. That is Ga, Van. And Van means Vas. All the devotees reside in him, and the Lord resides in his devotee. This is a